"You're too soft to take a stand, Tom," his old boss once jeered, a barman rooted in kindness, blind to the fire one clash would spark. That sharp noon, he faced down sneering suits, his words cutting through their smug taunts. Soon, tractor engines growled closer, their rumble promising a reckoning he couldn't outpour. "Hello everyone. Welcome to Narrative Whispers. Today I'm going to tell you another heartwarming story, so let's dive into it." Tom wiped down the counter at Riverside Pub with a worn rag, the soft hum of an afternoon lull punctuating the gentle clink of glasses. The pub, nestled on a quiet street near the river, had long been a sanctuary for those seeking solace and good company. It was a place where stories were shared, laughter was abundant, and every face was recognized. But today, an unsettling tension threaded through the air, a tension that would soon unravel the fabric of the community and change lives forever. It began on a crisp autumn afternoon. Tom had always been a man of quiet dignity and unwavering principles. He believed that every person, regardless of their station in life, deserved respect. That belief was about to be put to the test. Walter, an elderly farmer whose weathered hands told tales of long days in the field, had come into the pub seeking a momentary escape from the burdens of his laborious life. His eyes, a deep, earnest blue, carried the weight of countless seasons spent tending to his land. He found a corner seat, away from the casual chatter, and ordered a modest drink. Not long after Walter settled in, a group of sharply dressed corporate lawyers strode into the pub. Their eyes were cold, calculating, clear markers of those who had little regard for the human stories that lay beneath every wrinkle and scar. They soon began harassing Walter with condescending remarks about modernizing, agriculture, and upgrading traditional practices. "Old man, you really need to think about efficiency," one lawyer sneered, his tone dismissive and mocking. "The old ways just aren't cutting it anymore." Walter's face flushed, not with anger, but with the quiet hurt of being belittled. He attempted to rise from his chair, his voice trembling as he defended his lifelong labor. "I have worked these fields for decades. Every seed I plant is a promise. My promise to nature and my family." Tom, who had been serving another customer, watched the exchange with growing dismay. His instincts flared. Something about the lawyer's tone and dismissive attitude struck a deep chord in him. Unable to remain silent any longer, Tom stepped forward. "Hey, that's enough," Tom said firmly, his voice carrying both authority and compassion. "There's no need for that kind of talk in here." The room fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. The lawyer turned his icy gaze on Tom. "And who are you to lecture me on respect?" he snapped. Tom squared his shoulders. "I'm someone who believes that every person deserves a little decency, no matter who they are," he replied, his tone unwavering. "You might think your money and your fancy suits give you the right to disrespect someone, but you're wrong." The lawyer's colleagues exchanged glances, and soon the confrontation escalated. In a flurry of heated words, Tom defended Walter's honor, his voice rising above the din of the brewing storm. Before long, Victor, the pub's new owner, whose sole concern was maximizing profits, decided that Tom's actions were not in line with his business strategy. Victor was not interested in the values that Tom held dear. He cared only for the bottom line. In a swift, callous move, Tom was fired. The news of Tom's dismissal spread quickly through the small town. At first, many dismissed it as a minor managerial shake-up, but as the day wore on, the true nature of the incident became clear. The local farmers, many of whom had frequented Riverside Pub for years, were outraged. They saw in Tom's stand a simple act of human decency, a mirror of their own struggles against the impersonal forces of corporate greed. Walter, despite his initial shock, was the first to act. In his modest home, surrounded by memories of a lifetime dedicated to his land, he reached out to the local Farmers Alliance. This organization had long been a quiet backbone of the community, a group of like-minded souls determined to preserve tradition in the face of modern encroachments. "Tom stood up for me when no one else would," Walter said during a meeting of the Alliance. His voice, though soft, resonated with quiet determination. "It's time we return that favor. We must show that our community stands together." His words lit a spark. Within hours, a call was made out to every farmer, every laborer, and every supporter of the Alliance. A plan was set in motion that would soon be the talk of the region. A convoy of tractors, 200 strong, rolling into town in a show of solidarity. The morning of the convoy dawned crisp and clear. As the sun climbed over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and gold, Rows upon rows of tractors began to rumble down the main road towards Riverside Pub. The sound was almost musical, a deep, rhythmic roar that echoed the heartbeat of the community. Tom, who had been quietly nursing the sting of his dismissal, watched in awe from the edge of town. He had never imagined that his simple act of kindness could mobilize so many. The sight was humbling and filled him with hope. As the tractors drew nearer, farmers from all walks of life climbed down and greeted him with warm smiles and hearty handshakes. "Tom, we're with you," one of them shouted over the roar of the engines. "Today, we stand for what's right." The scene was surreal, a peaceful yet powerful display of unity. Neighbors who had previously exchanged only polite nods now embraced. Their differences melted away in the shared purpose of defending a cherished way of life. At the heart of the swarm stood Walter, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. He approached Tom, his voice trembling with emotion. "I'm so proud of you, Tom. You reminded us all that there's still honor in this world." Tom managed a weak smile. "I just did what anyone with a heart would do," he replied, his eyes reflecting both gratitude and sorrow for the turn of events that had led him to this point. In the days that followed, the community buzzed with the energy of change. The farmers, invigorated by the tractor convoy and their shared stand for justice, rallied together to confront Victor. They demanded that the pub be returned to a place of community and camaraderie rather than a cold profit machine. Victor, the new owner, found himself at a crossroads. His decision to fire Tom had been a calculated move, aimed at reducing costs and appealing to a market he deemed more lucrative. But the unity and passion of the local farmers proved too potent to ignore. After heated town hall meetings and impassioned pleas, the farmers pooled their resources, combining savings and even taking loans to achieve a single goal: to buy Riverside Pub. During the negotiation that followed, tension filled the air as the two sides met. Victor, a man who had grown accustomed to wielding power in the corporate world, was unprepared for the collective resolve of the farming community. "You think you can buy me out just because you have tractors?" Victor scoffed during one heated discussion with representatives of the alliance. His eyes narrowed with disdain. "Not just tractors, Victor," countered one of the farmers, his voice strong and unwavering. "We have decades of hard work, of sweat, and of dreams for a future where community matters more than corporate profits. We're buying more than just a pub, we're buying back our dignity." After hours of negotiations, a deal was struck. The pub was sold to the local Farmers Alliance, and Tom was appointed as the new manager. The community rejoiced, not just because Tom was reinstated, but because the pub now symbolized the triumph of human values over corporate greed. Under Tom's management, Riverside Pub transformed into a community hub. The walls were adorned with photographs of local landscapes, candid snapshots of farmers at work, and memories of simpler times. There were evenings filled with storytelling, where the elderly recounted tales of the past, and the younger generation listened with rapt attention. One evening, while Tom was preparing a special dinner for a community gathering, he found himself joined by his daughter, Emily, now a freshly minted law graduate. Emily had returned to town with dreams of making a difference. Over cups of strong coffee in the early hours of the morning, she shared her hopes for a future where justice and compassion guided the decisions of those in power. "Dad, I want to work with those lawyers who helped us," Emily said, her eyes bright with determination. "I know you've seen how things can change when people stand together." Tom smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "I'm proud of you, Emily. You've always had that fire in you. I believe that your skills and compassion can make a difference, not just for us, but for everyone fighting for what's right." Inspired by the community's solidarity, the corporate lawyers, many of whom had witnessed the Farmers' United Front, began to reassess their priorities. Some of them recognized the value in lending their expertise to a cause that was both just and necessary. In an unprecedented move, a group of these lawyers began providing pro bono legal services to the local Farmers Alliance, offering counsel on land rights, environmental protections, and labor disputes. One such lawyer, Mr. Daniels, a sharp-minded but kind-hearted attorney, visited the pub one evening after a long day in court. Seated in the dim light of the old wooden beams, he discussed with Tom the emerging challenges and opportunities facing the community. "Tom, I must say, I never imagined I'd be offering free legal advice to farmers," Mr. Daniels admitted with a wry smile. "But there's something about your story, your willingness to stand up for what's right, that makes me want to help." Tom nodded, appreciating the sincerity in his tone. "It's not about politics or profit. It's about people, and the right to live with dignity and respect." Over time, Emily began working closely with Mr. Daniels and his colleagues. Together, they held workshops, prepared legal documents for land disputes, and even challenged unfair practices that threatened the livelihood of local farmers. Their collaboration was a testament to the power of unity, where once adversaries became allies, all working towards a common good. As the seasons changed, the pub became more than just a building. It evolved into a living symbol of resilience and community spirit. The conversations that once took place over casual pints transformed into dialogues about rights, justice, and the future of farming in a modern world. On a chilly winter night, Tom sat by the fireplace, the flames dancing in a mesmerizing display of warmth and light. The pub was nearly empty, save for a few loyal patrons who preferred the solace of quiet reflection. Tom's mind drifted back to that fateful day when he had defended Walter. He thought about the courage it had taken, the personal cost it had entailed, and the unforeseen ripple effects it had triggered. In the hushed silence, the sound of footsteps echoed. Emily entered, wrapping herself in a cozy scarf. "Dad," she said softly, "I was just thinking about everything, about how one small act can change the course of many lives." Tom looked up, his eyes glistening with both memories and hope. "You know, Emily, sometimes it takes just one spark to light a fire. That day, I acted on instinct, and it set off a chain of events I never imagined. But maybe that's what life's about, a series of small choices that together forge a better path." Emily sat beside him, her hand finding his. "I'm so grateful you were there to stand up for what's right, and I'm even more grateful for the chance to continue that fight in my own way. We're not just defending a pub or a piece of land. We're defending a way of life." Their conversation lingered in the warmth of the fire, a quiet affirmation of shared values and enduring hope. As word of the pub's transformation spread beyond the town's borders, curious visitors and sympathetic media began to take notice. Stories emerged about the unique alliance between farmers and lawyers, a rare instance of adversaries setting aside their differences to champion a common cause. Articles, interviews, and even a few documentaries captured the essence of Riverside Pub, highlighting its evolution from a symbol of corporate profit to a bastion of community spirit. At one town meeting, the mood was celebratory yet contemplative. A respected community elder, Ms. Harper, addressed the gathering, her voice steady with conviction. "We have witnessed something extraordinary here. Riverside Pub isn't just a place to drink. It's a living lesson in how respect and solidarity can reshape our lives. When we stand together, nothing can break us." The meeting room erupted in applause, not merely for Ms. Harper's eloquence but for the shared understanding that their actions had sown the seeds of a more equitable future. The farmers, once isolated by the pressures of modern business, now found themselves bolstered by legal support and a renewed sense of purpose. In another poignant moment, Emily was invited to speak at a regional conference on rural development. Standing before an audience of policymakers, academics, and community leaders, she recounted the events that had transpired at Riverside Pub. "I learned that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can be the catalyst for profound change," she said, her voice steady yet infused with emotion. "My father defended an old man who had spent his life nurturing the land. That act of defiance sparked a movement, one where we, together with legal allies, reclaimed our rights and dignity. This isn't just our story. It's a story of hope for every community fighting against forces that seek to strip away our humanity." Her words resonated deeply, earning nods and quiet murmurs of agreement. It was a moment of reckoning, a realization that even in the face of powerful adversaries, unity and steadfast conviction could forge a path forward. Of course, the road ahead was not without its challenges. While the alliance between the farmers and the lawyers had borne fruit, there were still remnants of corporate influence that sought to undermine their efforts. New legal disputes, environmental concerns, and pressures from larger agricultural corporations periodically surfaced, testing the resolve of the community. One particularly stormy evening, as rain battered the windows of the pub, Tom and Emily found themselves in a heated discussion with a group of lawyers. The topic was the encroachment of a multinational corporation into local lands, a legal labyrinth that threatened to displace several small farms. "Mr. Daniels," Emily began cautiously, "we understand that the legal framework can be complex, but how can we protect the rights of farmers when the corporations have armies of lawyers at their disposal?" Daniels leaned forward, his face lined with concern. "It's a tough battle, Emily, but we have something the corporations lack: our community spirit and the unwavering support of our local citizens. Every legal victory we achieve, no matter how small, sets a precedent. We must be meticulous, persistent, and above all, united. Tom, who had been listening intently, added, "We've already shown that our unity can shake the foundations of even the most entrenched systems. We can't let fear dictate our actions. Each of us has a role to play, and together, we can overcome these obstacles." The conversation extended deep into the night, filled with passionate debate and careful strategizing. By the time the storm subsided, a plan had begun to form. A plan that drew on the collective wisdom of the community and the legal expertise of their newfound allies. It was a testament to their resilience, a promise that no matter how fierce the storm, they would weather it together. Spring arrived with a promise of renewal. The town, much like its people, was blooming with new energy. Riverside Pub, now a true community institution, became the epicenter of this resurgence. The pub hosted workshops on sustainable farming practices, forums on legal rights, and even social gatherings where neighbors simply enjoyed each other's company. One bright morning, as the first rays of sunlight spilled over the dewy fields, Tom and Emily stood outside the pub, watching as children played and elders exchanged smiles on the nearby streets. "Look at them, Dad," Emily said softly, her eyes following a group of youngsters chasing each other in the open space. "They have every reason to believe in a future where respect, unity, and hard work are valued above all else." Tom nodded, his gaze lingering on the horizon where the fields met the sky. "This pub was always meant to be more than just a business. It was a home for our stories, our struggles, and our victories. And now, thanks to people like you, it remains a beacon of hope." As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the transformative spirit of Riverside Pub continued to influence neighboring towns and communities. The alliance between the farmers and the legal professionals set a powerful example, a reminder that change often begins with a single act of courage. The annual Harvest Festival was approaching, a celebration that had always marked the end of the farming season and the beginning of a time for reflection and gratitude. This year, the festival was imbued with a deeper significance. It was a celebration of community resilience and the triumph of human values over corporate indifference. At the festival, amidst vibrant decorations and the tantalizing aroma of home-cooked food, Tom was invited to deliver a speech. Standing before an audience of farmers, families, and even a few curious visitors from the city, he took a deep breath and began. "Today, we celebrate more than just a bountiful harvest," Tom said, his voice resonating with heartfelt emotion. "We celebrate the spirit that binds us, the courage to stand up for one another, the willingness to work together, and the belief that every person deserves respect and dignity." When I defended Walter that day, I never imagined it would spark such a profound change. Yet here we are, united not by our differences but by our shared commitment to a better future. A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd, punctuated by claps and cheers. Among the listeners, Walter's eyes shone with pride, and Emily's smile radiated hope. The festival, with its mix of music, laughter, and the clinking of glasses, had become a testament to the enduring power of community. After the speech, Emily found herself surrounded by young farmers eager to learn about their legal rights and sustainable practices. "We need to understand our power," she told one of the group members, "and how to protect our land and our way of life. Every step we take is a step toward ensuring that our heritage remains unbroken." Years passed, and the legacy of that fateful day continued to reverberate throughout the community. Riverside Pub had evolved into a living monument to the ideals of respect, unity, and justice. The alliance between farmers and lawyers grew stronger, tackling challenges with an unyielding determination that inspired even those beyond their immediate circle. Tom, now a seasoned manager with decades of experience behind him, often found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. Late one autumn evening, as he closed up the pub after a long day, he sat in the quiet solitude of the back office. A framed photograph of him and Walter, a memento from the early days of the conflict, rested on his desk. In that photo, the two men were smiling, a silent testament to the power of standing up for what's right. A soft knock on the door interrupted his reverie. It was Emily, her eyes tired yet determined from a day spent consulting with community members and legal experts. "Dad, do you ever wonder if we made the right choice?" she asked quietly. Tom looked up, his gaze gentle and reassuring. "Every day, Emily. But then I see the results. The pub filled with laughter, the meetings where people work together, the spark in someone's eye when they realize they're not alone. I know we did the right thing." Emily sat down beside him. "I used to worry that one person's act might not be enough, that the system would always favor the powerful. But now I see that every act of kindness, every moment of courage adds up. It builds a legacy that even the strongest forces can't erase. They sat together in silence, the weight of the past mingling with the hope of the future. The challenges were far from over, and there would undoubtedly be more battles to fight. Yet in that quiet moment, surrounded by memories and the promise of tomorrow, both father and daughter felt a deep, abiding sense of purpose. In the years that followed, Riverside Pub and the local Farmers Alliance became a cornerstone of regional change. Their efforts inspired similar movements in other communities, each one a unique testament to the power of standing up for what is right. The partnership between legal professionals and local citizens paved the way for reforms that extended well beyond the borders of their small town. One crisp spring morning, as Tom prepared for another busy day at the pub, he received a letter in the mail. It was an invitation to speak at a national conference on community resilience and grassroots activism. The letter praised the transformative journey of Riverside Pub and the lasting impact of the alliance that had come together in the face of adversity. Tom read the letter slowly, his heart swelling with pride. He knew that his story, once just a simple act of defiance against injustice, had grown into a beacon of hope for many. It was a story that reminded people that respect, unity, and the courage to stand up for what is right were powerful forces capable of reshaping the world. At the conference, Tom's speech was met with standing ovations and heartfelt discussions. "Our strength lies in our willingness to care for one another," he told the gathered crowd. "Each of us has a story, a journey that has led us here. Together, we have the power to challenge the status quo and build a future where compassion triumphs over indifference." Emily, who had since become a respected advocate for community rights, listened intently from the audience. Her father's words resonated deeply with the values she carried in her heart. As the applause died down, she took the stage to share her own journey, a journey that began in the humble halls of Riverside Pub and blossomed into a lifelong commitment to justice and equality. "In every corner of our country, there are communities facing challenges that seem insurmountable," she said, "but I've learned that even the smallest act, a kind word, a brave stance, can ignite a movement. We are the keepers of our future, and it is our duty to stand up for those who cannot always stand for themselves." Her words were met with quiet determination and hopeful smiles. The legacy of that day, the day Tom had defended Walter, had grown into a tapestry of human connection, woven together by threads of compassion, resilience, and an unyielding belief in justice. As the years turned into decades, the impact of Riverside Pub continued to be felt. The pub remained a hub for conversation, activism, and community celebration. It stood as a reminder that every individual's voice mattered and that together, even the most ordinary people could achieve extraordinary change. And so, the story of Tom, Walter, Emily, and the local Farmers Alliance became a cherished legend, a narrative passed down through generations. It was a story that transcended the boundaries of a small town, reaching into the hearts of anyone who believed that true progress was built on respect and the courage to stand up for what is right. In the end, it wasn't the grand gestures or the legal battles alone that defined the legacy of Riverside Pub. It was the countless small moments, the shared smiles, the quiet nods of understanding, and the unspoken bonds between neighbors that created a tapestry of hope and unity. Tom's journey from bartender to community leader, Walter's quiet defiance in the face of arrogance, and Emily's relentless pursuit of justice were interwoven into the very soul of the town. Their actions served as a reminder that every person, regardless of their background, had the power to make a difference. In the soft glow of the evening, as the pub's lights flickered on, and the gentle hum of conversation resumed, the spirit of that transformative day lived on. It was in the laughter that filled the room, in the heartfelt conversations over mugs of warm cider, and in the silent understanding that, together, they had forged a future defined not by profit margins but by human connection. Riverside Pub had become a living testament to the idea that when we stand up for one another, when we defend what is right, even against the odds, we create ripples that extend far beyond our immediate world. And those ripples, born of courage and compassion, have the power to change everything. Thank you for listening to this story. If you like it, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next story of Narrative Whispers.